Hey guys, it's Bree. Welcome back to #BSB. So in my last episode, I talked about my Gmat struggle, and I gave you guys a rundown on all the products I used to help me prepare for the test that I took. In this episode, I'm going to do a review on the Manhattan Gmat course that I took. Well, courses because I took it twice. So let's jump right in. Before I talk about my experience with the class, I just want to go over a few of the basics like the price, location, resources, all that good stuff. So, as I've said in previous videos, the price to take the Manhattan Gmat course is $1,600, but with my Forte and being launched discount, I was able to take it for $1,200. And then when you take the course again for a second time, the price is $400. As a Manhattan Gmat prep student, you get a ton of resources. Like, honestly, it's a bit overwhelming when you actually see the checklist of items that you're going to receive. Now, in front of me, you can't see it, but I have all the books that I've been given laid out right here. When you start, you receive 10 study guides. This is only 5 because I can't pick up 10 of them. Here's the other 5 study guides that you get. And the topics that the strategy guides are, let's see, it's the Gmat roadmap, fractions, decimals, and percents, algebra, word problems, geometry, number properties, integrated reasoning and essay, critical reasoning, comprehension, and sentence correction. Now, outside of the strategy guides, you also get 2 books that focus on fundamentals. Now, the foundations of Gmat math and foundations of verbal. So what is that? That's like 12 books so far. Now imagine having to use all those books to actually study. One of the key books that you definitely need in your Gmat studying is the official guide. You cannot study for the Gmat unless you have this book. If you do not have this book, you're wasting your time. This book is the same language that the test makers use for the Gmat. So if you don't have this book in your arsenal, you need to go on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, whatever, and cop it ASAP. Now, aside from all the books that I just showed you, you're also given a test booklet. This replicates the test book that you'll get on test day. Now, outside of all the physical resources, you get even more online resources. So you'll get 6 practice test exams, which in Manhattan Prep they call them CAT exams. They'll advise you to download the Gmat Prep software from Gmat. And with that, you get 2 practice tests, and you also get access to Gmat Write. You'll also get 35 interact lessons that are taught by Manhattan Prep instructors. Now, the interact lessons kind of coincide with the topics that are covered on the syllabus, so you don't need to just run through all of them. Just follow the syllabus. Most of them will suggest that you listen in and participate in an interact lesson. Speaking of online syllabus, you'll also have access to not just a PDF version, but the syllabus platform. And on top of all that, you'll get access to their Gmat Navigator, which is a tool that you'll use as you solve problems in the OG, the official guide. You'll just type in the number, you'll say what section you're in, whether it's like sentence correction, and I'm doing question 530. So you'll filter for that question specifically, you'll input your answer, and it'll tell you whether you're incorrect or correct. And if you're incorrect, it'll explain why you're incorrect. My instructors always suggested that when doing sentence correction problems and all quant problems, use the OG Navigator. For reading comp and critical reasoning, some of them suggested that you just take that straight from the OG guide. So 2 more great resources that Manhattan Prep gives you are the post-course and the post-exam assessments. Now, as I said in one of my previous videos, I utilized the post-exam assessment, and that is what kind of helped me construct a study plan for 2 weeks out from my test. I honestly felt that it was very beneficial, and I honestly needed that study plan way in advance. So the minute you finish your course, if you decide to take one, do a post-course assessment. And the minute you finish 3 CAT exams, make sure you do a post-exam assessment so you can get that study plan constructed ASAP. So that's a rundown of all the resources. Now, Manhattan Prep has 2 locations. They have a Chelsea location, they have a Wall Street location. I was fortunate enough to experience both. Their Chelsea location is on like West 25th, kind of close to Penn Station. And their Wall Street location is by the Broad Street J train station. Both easily accessible by train, or if you live in the area, walk, whatever. In terms of scheduling, they had night classes during the week, and they also had weekend classes. So Saturday they'd have class in the morning. It started like 10 a.m. and their afternoon classes started at like 2. On Sunday, I believe the times were the same. I've never opted to take a Sunday class because why would I want to sit in a class on a Sunday? Sunday is my bum day. So on to my actual class experience. The first thing I want to talk about is the course syllabus and kind of touch on time management. So the syllabus is broken down into 9 weeks of assignments, and on the main pages of the syllabus, all the questions that are listed there are mid-range questions. So if those are too hard, or you see that you're getting like more than half of them wrong, definitely flip to the back and do the easier set of questions. It's also recommended that after you do the easier set, you go back and do the mid-range questions just to make sure that you really have mastered those concepts. For the most part, that's something that I did with almost all my assignments, at least on the quant side. For verbal, I could handle the mid-range questions, but for quant, most times I had to flip to the easier set, and vice versa. If those questions are too easy, if the mid-range questions are too easy for you, they also have harder sets in the back of the syllabus as well. So whatever range you're in, make sure you're doing the problem sets that challenge you, but like you actually understand the concept. In terms of time management, I always felt that it was helpful or useful to plan out what days I was going to do what part of the syllabus. One day I might decide to do critical reasoning and a bunch of problem solving questions. I would map that out before the week actually started. If you do not plan ahead, create a study plan for yourself ahead of time, it's very easy to fall behind because the workload for the Manhattan Gmat course is very intense. And honestly, there is no such thing as trying to have a life while studying or taking this Gmat course. It takes up a lot of your time because they give you so much work to complete in a week. And also, one last tip, always make sure you mix up the sections of the test while you're studying. So don't just focus on all the math problems in one study session. Like, mix it up, throw some verbal in there, because during the test you're gonna have to jump from math to verbal anyway, so it's best to just practice that way. Now on to the pros and cons of the course. As I just showed y'all, there's a lot of resources, and it's easy to get overwhelmed if you have no instruction on how to use all of these books and all the online tools. Personally, I didn't use all the online tools, but one thing I did find clutch is that all the strategy guides are ebooks. They allow you to download the ebooks, and it's a lot easier to carry around when you have like a little iPad, so you don't have to lug around all those books. Unfortunately, the OG is not an ebook because the Manhattan Prep don't have the licensing rights for that book, so you gotta walk around with this heavy book. Sorry. Another thing I noticed with the course, Manhattan Prep doesn't focus on concepts so much. They more so focus on strategies. So when you hear other people doing reviews or talking about their experience with the class, you might hear them say that it's more advanced than like Veritas or Kaplan, because from what I've heard, those courses focus more on the actual concepts. For me, I didn't know that going into this course, so it would have been very helpful if I took like an algebra class or something before I dived in and did the Manhattan Gmat course. But nonetheless, the strategies, they were very useful for while I was studying and even on test day. I'm pretty sure I got a higher percentage of the questions right because I was able to identify and utilize those strategies when diving into completing a question. Outside of class, Instructors are typically very easily accessible. You can either meet them before class starts, they'll stay late with you afterwards to talk about concept or problems that you didn't understand, and then you can also reach them by email. In previous courses that I've taken outside of like Gmat studying, I've always found it like hard to connect and converse with a few of my professors. But these instructors are very personable. They have lives just like you do, but like they're dedicating their time to making sure you excel at this test. So one thing I really like about Manhattan Prep is that they used to offer a practice test center, because in the syllabus you're required to take 2 practice tests, and what better thing than to reenact the test in an actual center that replicates test day. In order to take your practice test there, all you had to do was call in advance and actually schedule your practice test. Let them know that whether you want to take it at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. and they'll write your name down, and you'll go in there, you'll take the test, and you'll be surrounded by people who are also taking the test. Sometimes the classroom was fairly empty, but for the most part, like, you were able to concentrate on your test in your area at your own starting time. Now, I'm not sure if they still offer this because after I retook the class last fall, I tried to schedule a practice test, and they told me that the classroom that they used, that used to be the practice test center, now housed a class on Saturdays. So I was unable to take my practice test there. Now that it's like spring, almost summer, they might not have a class in there anymore. So whether you opt to take a Manhattan Prep course, you would need to ask ahead of time or on the time that you enroll whether or not the practice test center is still active. So now that I've given you a rundown of my experience with Manhattan Prep, in the next video I'm going to be talking about my experience with Target Test Prep. So make sure you tune in. In the meantime, if you have any questions about my experience with Manhattan Prep, just drop it in the comment box below. Any questions or comments about my journey thus far, definitely will get back to you in response to that. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel because those numbers really matter. Till next time, bye guys.